Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
And me, I'm Rob. Let's talk about those OTAs.
Otas.
Ota.
It sounds like what you say before, like a Greek dance. Ota.
Ota.
Have some baklava afterwards. I don't know.
Little hummus.
It's okay. I'm a little bit Greek, guys.
That's
my excuse for everything at this point. Yeah. It's the beauty of being a mutt, basically. It's like any of the European countries I can mock it. It's okay.
23andMe said that my family's for whores and I can make fun of everyone.
Yeah, basically, that's I got the same boat. I'm like, it just came back saying, they gave me a bottle of a ketchup, a Heinz 57 at that point.
Yeah. What, ketchup or a barbecue sauce?
I'm like that much you get from the pound. You go, how did this combination even happen?
Pretty much. Silk trade route, trade ride.
I had that actually. When I did my 23andMe, no lie, I actually had a little bit of Indian in me even, and I was like, that was kind of shocker. So yeah, I mean, you never know what you're gonna find when you do that kind of stuff. All righty. By the way, 23andMe, if you're interested in sponsorship, the email is twogiantgoofballs@mail.com.
Come chop.
So anybody else is also interested, of course. We also want to point out again, we of course have the option to support us at buymeacupofcoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Again, it's buymeacupofcoffee.com/2 All righty, guys. So today we are here to give you guys the update on the OTAs as they continue going here. And like I told you guys in the very beginning, we're going to do like one update a week whenever they're doing OTAs and practices and that kind of stuff, because quite frankly, people are stretching this stuff out to be like 5 episodes somehow. And I listen to other people's shows all the time to get ideas as far as, you know, things I like or don't like that we can do better, or maybe try to interact into some of our stuff there. And a lot of the OTA ones I listen to be very frank, are quite boring because they pick the smallest thing and try to like harp on it nonstop, because there's just not that much to talk about with each individual practice.
Threw the ball sometimes today in practice. Looked great.
How
much I was going to say, but he looked great for 70 yards.
Someone caught it. It was amazing. Yeah. Alrighty. So before we get into the actual OTAs themselves, the Giants did officially announce something that's been talked about now for a few days here, and I wanted us to talk about it once it was actually officially finalized, because to be very frank, I think more of a big deal is being made of it than what it actually is. Ryan Cowden and Isaiah Wingfield both were added to the personnel department here. That was announced officially there. Ryan Cowden is going to be the executive advisor to the general manager, the grand vizier, if you will, the Jafar of the Giants.
Not the Jafar.
Yes.
He's the bad guy.
Prince Ali Abubu.
Prince Ali. Actually, I think that song got canceled or something. So let me take that back. I think that song got canceled.
No, Prince Ali, fabulous is he Ali Ababa. There's nothing wrong with that. I think. I don't know.
What's in the Babwa?
I don't know. I don't know.
You're part Indian. Come on.
It's not even Indian. That's Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern.
Wow. Now we're getting canceled too, Rob. Thanks.
Hey, listen. Know your history, because part of where the story comes from is Prince of Baghdad, and a lot of those people migrated over to India. So,
yeah, well, I wasn't apparently, according to 23andMe. Yeah. So, anyway, Ryan Cowden spent the last 24 years in the league, including the last 7 in Tennessee, with his last 5 as the VP of Player Personnel. If the name sounds familiar to you guys, it's because he actually was one of the guys who interviewed for the GM job a few years ago. So the Giants are pretty familiar with the guy. On top of that, prior to working in Tennessee, he worked for 16 years with in Carolina with a certain Joe Shane. So two of them, from what I understand, they are so buddy, these two, that they were actually at each other's weddings.
They're like 2 peas in a pod.
Yeah. So I think in the end, this hire is just, hey, Cowden's not doing anything. Can we hire him?
Yeah.
I feel like that was what happened, basically. Like,
He had some good insight.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can sit there and say Tennessee, he's got his ups and downs, but it's been mostly up for the Titans the last 7 years while Cowden's been there. So not a bad mind to bring in. I just hope that he's not a yes man to Shane because of the friendship thing. I always worry about the friendship thing as far as working together and that kind of stuff.
You get two kinds of friends working together. It's either yes, 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 you guys are buddy, buddy, ha ha ha, or like you guys work that hard for each other, because you don't want to make your friend look bad.
Oh, there's a third kind.
Oh,
the ones that aren't friends afterwards.
That's true.
Don't forget option 3. So we'll have to see how things play out. But I think, honestly, they just wanted to give him a title to keep him in the league so that way he can sit there and say, I've been doing this and this and that. And you know what I mean? Try to keep himself relevant for other jobs that might pop up. Because, again, he's been interviewing for GM jobs. He's had higher up positions now within the league. So it's all a matter of staying relevant. It's like being a model. You have to walk the runway every so often, or else people forget about you.
Just do the turn.
Yeah.
On the catwalk.
On the catwalk. I shake my little tush on the catwalk. Oh, yes. By the way, those who can't remember, that is a song by Right Said Fred was his name. Right Said Fred. Oh, yes. As Connor chimes in, he says, yeah, like you two, LOL, talking about us. I don't know which column you were talking about us being in, or Connor.
Probably relevant.
The nice thing is we just sit here and BS about football for an hour a couple times a week, which we would do anyway without the show. So therefore,
pretty much,
it's not even work. It's the fun part of it, really. The only work part is doing the graphics and getting that kind of stuff going, and sometimes doing homework if we have to watch the game like 3 times.
That's not pulling Google up in front of us constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly.
So next up, we have Isaiah Wingfield, who, honestly, I got to say, I never heard of this name before the Giants even announced this one at all. He's hired as a scouting assistant, which is a very low-level position. So it went from, like, the Jafar to the Iago, basically, in this whole thing.
Yeah.
So this is his first job outside of playing football, being in college. So he literally just finished his graduate assistantship over at Wake Forest, where he was a defensive back for them. Before that, he was playing for Harvard. So this is literally a guy basically who was in college, well-educated, played in college, even just this past college football season, just wasn't good enough to make the league, and he knew it. So he went into something else. So should also comment the fact that he's a Jersey boy. He's from Burlington and not the Coat Factory.
I said there's quite a few Burlingtons around.
Yeah, not the Coat Factory. He's from Burlington, so another Jersey boy there. So glad to see a Jersey boy succeeding, that's for sure. All righty. On to the OTAs. The OTAs.
OTA.
Hooked on an OTA. So Tuesday we had OTA number 4. Everything we have information wise, to be very frank, is coming from Giants.com. Beat writer Dan Salamone, who was the one of the Giants.com, had write up the fluff piece about it. And I did say fluff piece, and I'm going to call it what it is, because again, he's the only media that was there were the Giants, so they can give us and force feed us whatever they want. So we're going to take it, as I keep telling you guys all, take it for the grain of salt. Yeah, exactly. Because we have no clue what actually happened. We have no clue how close things were. And they're never going to make one player look bad to make another one look good either. Correct. So notes they gave us were during the 7-on-7 drills, Khalil Pimpleton caught a touchdown from Jones, and Hyatt caught 2 TDs, though they didn't specify who from. Tyrod Taylor also ran it in for a TD. The big thing we talked about this, but really briefly at the end of the episode last night, that they keep on talking about is no turnovers for the offense. So,
but that kind of actually what you said before, because they're not fluffing up our defense.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that come into mind. So the first thing comes into mind is the defense last year had trouble getting interceptions. There's no contact. There's no fumbles, therefore. So, yeah, it would make sense that the defense would also have trouble now getting turnovers because you brought back most of the same defense for the most part. Making some changes at this one of the safety positions when that still hasn't been finalized. You got a young corner in there. So maybe some of those guys, as they get more comfortable, start actually getting interceptions. But for the most part.
But the counterpart, too, is what was our offense so good at last year?
Not turning
over the ball. So.
Yeah. And the other thing I wonder about as well is the Giants are not beyond manipulating the situation to see how the players react. They have already proven that last year when they purposely made Daniel Jones look bad just to see how he'd react in the OTAs. Remember last year it was, oh my God, he's looking horrible. Oh my God, Daniel Jones looks horrendous. And it was later found out that that was done on purpose because the Giants wanted to see how he'd react. They were literally telling Wink what plays they were going to do. So maybe it's reverse for all we know. Maybe they want to challenge the defense and they're doing that. I don't know. And I'm not saying they are or aren't. I'm just saying, again, it's the OTAs. Take everything for a grain of salt until you actually see guys playing against other teams. We don't know fully what's going to happen yet. That's what it boils down to. Top plays they listed here. The first play of the entire 7-on-7 was a nice pass from Jones to Paris Campbell. They also said Deontay Banks had a nice pass breakup, and that Daniel Bellinger had a nice gain on a pass from Jones. Not too exciting at the notes of top plays that Giants.com even gave us.
No yards listed, like
nothing. That's it.
What was it? A SWAT hit? Was it a breakup after reception? Like
not much. Not much.
That's why we're not going to spend an hour on OTA 4.
Exactly. As we got also Diggs BTW7 saying, "Hey, what's up, G? What's up, man?
Yo, bud.
I'm guessing it's a Cowboy fan we have here in the Twitch here because that's definitely Diggs the cornerback there. So it's I guess it's always cool to see like other teams fans coming in here as well. Even though I kind of like we're giving them too much to look at our team now, but
well, it's not like they're going to call up Jerry Jones and tell him what we're doing.
Yeah, but like I said, it's cool that
if Jerry Jones wants to listen, that's fine too. He can sponsor part of the podcast.
Like I said, it's cool that we got like Cowboy fans pop in, Eagle fans pop in, Packers fans, Bears fans. It's just cool to see all of the team popping in as well because they just like the fun we're having here. So welcome, man. Even though you have a bad choice in teams.
Does your brother really want to come to New York, or are you guys trolling?
Alrighty. So day 5. That's the one we really want to start talking about because that's the one that just happened yesterday and was open to the media. I love the ones that are open to the media because if you listen to what everybody says, they'll actually give you some more insight, more information than the Giants will give. Yeah, exactly. Opinions. And they'll tell you point blank who looked bad. They're not going to shy from saying, hey, this guy looked really bad. They don't care. They have no reason to lie whatsoever unless there's a wink, wink, nudge, judge going on with the Giants, which, again, does happen with media people. They don't want to say it, but it does. The big one, if you listen to Pat Traina talk about it from Locked On Giants and Giants Country, she said Amani Oruwariye looked horrendous the last open practice. And he was the number 2 corner during the last open practice they had last week. Well, the secondary completely changed this time. So the big move that I was kind of shocked by, but kind of liked it to a certain degree, Nick McLeod saw a good amount of time at safety with the number 1s. And, it's been pretty obvious that the staff likes Nick McLeod.
We were talking about this a few episodes ago as well.
Yeah, it's like, and we talked about the fact that, I think he excelled and beat out our expectations, what we had for him as well, because, you get a guy very late in the offseason, the season's almost about to begin, and then he still just steps in and just does his thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he should be a starter at corner or anything like that, but he's a legitimate piece to this defense. And it's nice to see them try to put him in different spots and see what works best for him and see what he, where he excels best for them. or just keep it open for him to just move around during the season, even different spots even. So,
Yeah.
As far as the corners go, we talked about Aurier having trouble last week. Well, he's out. So Adoree Jackson, Dante Banks, the first-round pick this year, in a corner with Cordell Flott being the slot corner. After a lot of the things you hear about is Darnay Holmes not looking good. Darnay Holmes not looking good over and over again. I think every single beat writer that I've read on or listened to doing a podcast, every single one pretty much has said Darnay Holmes has not looked good. He looks like he's regressed. And I'd like to regress that $2.7 million cap hit. I'm just saying,
yeah. I mean, we all knew how he was as a player. I don't know. How do I say it diplomatically, Nessie? He helped our defense.
With diplomatic immunity.
Yeah. He helped our defense last year, but that's not saying much. That's not saying much.
Or not Die Hard. I said Die Hard. Lethal Weapon. Sorry. I had
to
correct myself. That was Lethal Weapon.
2.
That was the first one.
No, Gary Busey.
Yeah,
diplomatic immunity.
No, that wasn't Gary Busey. You said that was his boss at the very end.
Did a Family Guy have a song about it? I have diplomatic immunity, like the guy from Lethal Weapon 2.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's Lethal Weapon 1 that had the diplomatic immunity. I'm going to look it up while you say your rest of your piece, so I stop interrupting you, though. Go for it.
I'm just saying that Darnay Holmes didn't embarrass himself. He helped the defense, but it wasn't like he excelled at our defense. Now that, Adoree Jackson's healthy, you got, our number 1 draft pick out there. And Cordell Flott, who also didn't embarrass himself last year, who also played better than Holmes. So, yeah. Did he regress, or is he around better talent that's healthy? Because we all knew Adoree was better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Darnay Holmes overall. I like obviously Adoree Jackson very much. I know people love to rag on him for the lack of turnovers. I could not care less. All I care about is he stops the ball from getting to the guy he's covering. That's his main job.
Yeah.
He's like, as we talked about Diggs a moment ago from the Cowboys, he's the anti-Diggs. Diggs is that guy who makes mistakes because he goes for the big turnover, whereas Adoree Jackson just does his job and just doesn't get the turnover, but doesn't give up the pass play either. So it's a give and take, but you have to sometimes accept players for what they are. Deontay Banks, should be starting for us just based on talent level as a first-round pick. And Cordell Flott, as you mentioned, did pretty good things for us last year.
Yeah, he wasn't stellar. I
still think it was a bad pick. I'm still going to say that. Yeah.
I'm saying wrong. I'm just saying he helped this defense, but he didn't excel this defense.
Yeah. I'll give you that. So again, Darnay Holmes needs to be packing his bags to go home. I'm just saying.
He's going on a jet plane.
$2.7 million we can save by cutting him. There's no way he makes his team unless he takes a massive pay cut or he just shows up out of nowhere based on everything you're seeing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, by the way, I should say this. Connor did verify it's part 2, and he's right. I looked it up on Google. I'm wrong. You were right, Rob. It happens.
See? Boom.
See? At least I admit it. I do admit it. It hurts me too. Connor says, McLeod, there can be only one.
McLeod.
And Deb asks, he says, you talked about Bradshaw being drafted in round 7 and one of the best late round picks ever. My question is, how soon is it evident that you have scored big in a late round preseason later? I think that answer probably really dependent on the player. I mean, you get guys, for the most part, the ones who are late round studs that pop out don't tend to pop out till beginning or end of the first year, even, I would say. Look at a guy like Slayton. I think it's safe to say that Slayton is one of the best late round picks we've had in the last 10 years. And you kind of saw it towards the second half of that first season. You can look at a guy like Tom Brady, who's considered probably the best late round pick ever.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty safe to say. And it was year 2 for him that he but he also never got the chance year one.
That's saying he didn't have a chance, but like you said, Slayton, like he also didn't see that much of the field on the first half of the year, and like it's going to be the same thing with most 7th round picks. They're not going to see the field at the beginning of the year, but if you're up in the game, let's put this guy in, or you're way behind in the game, let's put this guy in.
There's also the learning curve, though. I mean, if you're a 7th round pick, you're a 7th round pick for one of two reasons. Either you came from a very small school and that made people nervous, or there was an obvious flaw in your game and they needed to fix that flaw.
Or maybe you have an owie and you didn't play so well your senior year.
Yeah, but even if that's the case, you're not going to go down to like a 5th or 6th round pick if you are a 1st round talent like that. You might go down to a 3rd round talent.
I'm saying if you're 3rd round talent.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Yeah.
But, even look at a guy, like Isaiah Pacheco last year with the Chiefs, who's probably the best late round pick of the prior draft there, Rutgers boy there. And, he was a 7th round pick, and you didn't hear too much of him until after the season started going. It wasn't
until like halfway.
Yeah, it wasn't like during the preseason you heard anything about him. But I'll say, as far as when for sure, is I'm going to say I never feel like I know anything about any specific player until they've done whatever it is that I think they can do for multiple seasons. Everybody has a best season. I need to see multiple seasons. Like, I can safely tell you that Darius Slayton is a guy who consistently will get about 700 yards. He has that history now doing that.
And he's also definitely not a number 1 receiver. But he could definitely complement it. Like, he might be Robin's Robin.
But he's a legitimate deep threat receiver in this league.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, like I said, that's what I would say I know for sure. But in general, if you have a good late round pick, you're not going to really know typically until, like I said, mid to end of this first year, even, because that's usually what it is. Is there something they have to teach them to get them going?
Like, so, I'm going to maybe disagree with saying mid-round, because that's when they're probably going to start showing what they got. But it could be just one good game, and that's it. So, like, you're going to see the up and downs. Like, you might have the 7th round. We'll say, like, Slayton, right? He has 120 yards one game after having, like, nothing but, 40 yards one game, 10 yards this game, 30 yards this game. And then all of a sudden he gets 120 yards. I was like, look at this guy. And then he goes, guess what he does? 35 yards.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, what happened to this guy? And
you're going to get that with receivers, though, too, at that position specifically. But like I said, I think overall that's when you start seeing that kind of stuff. Unless you had a guy like a Tyreek Woolen who came out of nowhere as well. I think he was a 4th round pick for the Seahawks and took the starting job right off the bat, and then, just never let up. So, it's different for each player, but like I said, I think for the most part, that's where I would put it, as mid to late first year when you start seeing if you got an actual player.
I mean, you're talking about Seattle. Don't forget about Sneaky Pete.
Sneaky Pete. He was very sneaky with that draft. Very sneaky with that draft. All righty. Let's see here. She also says Cruz came in as a walk-on. If I remember right, he was doing great first year, then injuries, of course. He blew up the Jets, if I remember right, the first year when he was coming in there, and then the second year when all of a sudden happened. But that's the classic example of a guy coming from a small school. That's what it was. If he played like he played in college at a Big Ten or an SEC or a Pac-12 or whatever the case may be, he would have been drafted point blank.
Did he do the salsa dance in college?
I don't know, to be very frank.
If he didn't do it, that may have helped his draft.
I think if he did do it more often, he would have helped his draft. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't go, oh, let me get that guy from UMass with this draft pick here.
With that salsa dance.
No. You don't draft players based on their dancing abilities. Could you imagine that as the thing? Like, I guess who would have been the GM back then? I'm trying to think. It was past Ernie Accorsi. It was why am I drawing a blank?
Yeah.
This sounds later night. You know that I worked a 12-hour shift here today.
I was about to say, when I was at work at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's like, but you don't go to the podium at the end of the draft and say, well, we drafted this guy because he's quite the salsa dancer, and that's what we thought was interesting, So again, you have to go ahead and look at some of these guys from smaller schools and get them later on. Get these guys with small issues and get them later on. And that's one of the things that Gettleman wasn't necessarily the best at per se, but he made a couple of hits like Slayton. And Jerry Reese, who I don't know why I was blanking on his name a minute ago, did a couple as well with it. Like we talked about Bradshaw as well. So, but overall, again, mid first year, end first year, that's when you're going to see most of that kind of stuff, I feel like, for the most part there. But it's different for everybody. All right, so let's get on to the rest of the notes. We talk about young players developing. Josh Azudu took some of the left guard first rep there away from Ben Bredesen with that practice. So now the talk is starting to come in is Ben Bredesen losing this battle? Is Azudu getting better? Are they just trying to keep him in the loop, so to speak?
I think it's about the refs because it could go either way.
Honestly, and maybe it's just me and my gut feeling. My gut feeling tells me that it's to get him some reps because he's going to be the first guard off the bench. That's where I honestly think he's going to be.
We talked about this before. We talked about the line. Like, Bredesen's probably going to be the starter, but Azudu could take that job.
Azudu can play a lot of different places too. People forget he's played tackle before as well. So, or you could also have the scenario where if, let's say Schmidt's having a bad game, knock on wood, we hope it doesn't happen, obviously. Yeah. But if it does, Bredesen moves into center, Azudu moves into left guard, and there's your
as
long as it's not Shane Lemieux, he'll get hurt. I played 2 plays, I'm done.
Snap, ow.
What was that? I cracked my knuckles and broke my hand.
Yeah.
So, like I said, just something to keep an eye on there because, again, we think that Ben Bredesen's going to win this job, but who knows? You could just easily have Josh Azudu, if anything. Like I said before, and I think you agreed with him, right, Rob? They probably want Josh Azudu to win because they drafted Josh Azudu.
Yeah.
It solidifies their move. It solidifies, hey, we made the right pick when we got this guy.
Azudu, you're my boy, Blue.
You my boy. All righty. Also, the other notes that I saw a lot of the guys saying is that DJ looked pretty good, throwing a lot of deep balls, which is something you didn't see him doing a lot last season overall. But again, the only guy who could play, deep was Slayton. Now he's got all these speedy guys.
Like, what did he have? Like 20 deep balls through the year?
And the crazy thing is, he's just very accurate. He's very good at that. If you look at a lot of the missed ones that Slayton had deep, it wasn't because Daniel Jones threw it wrong. I mean, you could say that maybe Slayton had to come back to 1 or 2 or something like that. But for the most part, the ones that Slayton didn't catch were just because Slayton had a.
It was like, hey, what happened?
I mean, he just happened to have a crispity, crunchy Butterfinger. That's what happened.
Yeah. So. Butterfinger.
Don't have a cow, man. So next up, we have the new arrivals to the OTA group. Sexy Dexy and Leonard Williams in the building. Oh, yeah. I feel like when Dexter Lawrence does that dance, he's like, looks like a big bear that's like rubbing up against an invisible tree behind him.
Almost, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like he's all excited he found some Charmin or something.
I always saw like a Buddha and a dog looking for the spot to poop.
turns around a couple times.
Yeah.
Let's see here. As Beef says, Daniel Jones, his first year is one of the best long ball passes in the NFL. Listen, he never lost that.
No, even his third year.
Time.
Yeah. And offensive line around them and the talent.
I'm saying that's part of it.
Coaching.
Time. Coaches wouldn't let him because they were too worried about him turning the ball over, and he didn't have anybody who can get deep besides Slayton.
In his third year, like his stats, like he had the highest rated completions for deep balls over 25 yards thrown in the NFL. He got those deep balls a lot. But like, that's not a stat you could just turn your eye on. And just last year they wouldn't let him throw the ball, but that's also coaching knowing the talent around him.
Yes. No, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's a matter of having the right people around him, not just on the field, but off the field and the sidelines too. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens long term if they keep bringing that in. But I really hope that they do. I hope they keep throwing the ball down the field. Let it rip. Go for it.
Yeah, listen, they brought in some talent where you can let DJ rip that ball.
Yeah.
Rip it and rip it.
If you don't let him rip the ball, then you shouldn't have given him the money. Because obviously you don't trust him. That's what it boils down to. We also had another special appearance here for the first time that the media saw it, or that anybody's pointed out at least. Ashawn Robinson, the defensive tackle we got that was from the Rams last season, was seen for the first time, but was with the injured players. No word on any specific injury on him yet. What I thought was interesting is, remember, we brought him in for a visit. Didn't hear a damn thing for a month, then all of a sudden assigned him. So I'm wondering if he's just still healing up whatever injury might have been plaguing him when he first came in for a visit. It would make sense. Where they're confident he'll get better. They just signed him because they just need some time to get healthy. That's all. Let's get him in. Let's get him a playbook, and let's, so he can hit the ground running when he's fully healthy. Yeah. So no problem with that, I think. I think some people were kind of confused by that, but I think that's what would be sensible to have happened.
Do we recall his injury?
They never said it.
Yeah.
Not that I've seen, at least. That's what I'm saying. I think he had an injury when they brought him in, and that's all it is this is the tail end of him recovering. So, like you said, no biggie. He's a veteran player. He's played for a while. Defensive tackle is, in the end, for what he's going to do, is very simple. Sit there and be fat. Let's be honest. He's going to sumo wrestle. His job is to keep people off of Karake and Beavers or whoever else is there and stop the running back. That's his job. Yeah. So, it's not one of those big time scheme things. It's more like, that's your guy. Don't let him get past you.
Beef guy.
And if somebody happens to be running the ball next to you, go ahead and stop them while you're there.
Pretty much.
It's not a difficult position as far as that. Difficult to play, not difficult to learn schemes for. People are also pretty excited because they got to see Wan'Dale Robinson using the jugs machine. Now, that sounds like much more fun than it actually is. I kept hearing everybody saying, yeah, look at Wan'Dale with the jugs machine. And I'm like,
where's Mark? I
got to be honest. I had no clue this thing was even called this. So for those who watch stuff on the sidelines and never seen, there's like a tripod set up, basically. I know I said tripod and jugs. There's a tripod set up with these two wheels that are basically spinning.
Did they get a pizza delivery?
And they don't get a pizza delivery, but it's what shoots the balls out, basically. So it's basically a throwing machine. And for some reason, people got excited over him doing this on the sidelines. I think people just wanted to say that Wan'Dale was using the jugs machine. I think that's what they want to say.
Jugs.
Yeah, that's what it is. And the scary thing is, if you actually kind of look at the picture of one of them from the top, it kind of...
Maybe that's why it's called jugs.
Yeah, maybe that's why it's called the jugs machine. It's got nipples and everything. We're going to call it like it is. Other good news that I saw as well is that Jalen Hyatt stayed after practice to work one-on-one with Daniel Jones.
He's been working a lot. That's one thing I've heard through all five of these, is that, I mean, granted, take what 1 to 4 is because that's all Giants media, but a lot of people saying that he's been looking good and he's been picking it up.
Yeah, and you got to love to see that, because as a deep play receiver, which is what he is, timing and understanding how each other play is so important. He needs that time with Jones.
So important.
Important.
Especially like if DJ can't know, but they know the scheme they're running, and he can't really see what's going on. He has to know the step pace that Hyatt is running at and when to throw the ball, because it's a count in his head.
He also needs to know where he's able to catch the ball. People are different on how they do it. If you notice, there are certain players that always come back to the ball a little bit, and people think sometimes it's because of the quarterback. No, it's sometimes people they're good at getting open down the field, but they're not good at over-the-shoulder catches. So they prefer to turn around and come back to it a little bit at the last second. There's other guys who are great at doing the over-the-shoulder, which is obviously the preferred, because you can just keep on running. Again, you have to see what works well, we got another comment here from Connor. It says, love the teacher stripping scene in Varsity Blues. Wish my teacher had done that. LOL. I'm not even sure what that's in relevance to, Connor.
Maybe the jugs or the tripod.
Was it the jugs or the tripod? So again, since the practice was open to the media, they did have a bunch of little mini press conferences here with interviews with the players there. The nice thing was Giants.com and the Giants people in general must have heard our complaints and our griping, because you can actually hear the questions this time, which was nice. So appreciate it, Giants people. If you're actually listening, send us some free merch and call it a day.
Extra large hoodie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll take the double X.
Yeah.
So
he needs to long too.
I really do. As part of it's not even the width thing at all, man. It really is all about the length. Otherwise, I had that big guy in a little coat thing where
it's like a belly shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So we had Brian Dable. We had a few players come up as well and talk. So Brian Dable, obviously, the big thing with him is he doesn't tell you much. He doesn't want to actually say. So I'll give you some of the finer points there. So he did say that he meets with each player regularly. Specifically, he talks about wanting to see a jump from some of the second-year players there from last year's rookie class, which I think is interesting because most of them didn't even play.
I know.
It's like, I think you should get better in your second year, which is actually your first year. If anything, the Giants it's like they have 2 rookie classes coming in this year.
I was going to say we have like 2 rooks coming in because we had one rookie last year that stayed healthy for the full year.
Yeah, that's it. Micah McFadden's the only one. I mean, you had Dean Belton in for a while. Evan Neal played most of the league and most of the year, and Thibodeau played most of it. But you had
Elger obviously missed
McKeithen and
5 games.
Yeah, McKeithen and Beavers both get out before the season even started.
Save our Beavers.
Davidson obviously got hurt and is still hurt. I mean, it's like having 1.5 at least for rookie classes. All right. So he also said, talked about Daniel Jones, mentioned he's a hard worker, and called him a true pro. So always good to hear the coach talking nice about the quarterback. That's for sure. Keeps that relationship going.
Yeah, he quite literally told him that he had to dial it back.
He also called somebody else a true pro. This may shock you, but the topic of Darren Waller came up again.
Oh,
calling him also a great teammate, as the hype train from the Giants for Darren Waller continues. This man better stay healthy. Oh my God, if he doesn't,
come on, everyone! Everyone's riding the hype train. Choo-choo.
Don't get me wrong, we like Waller. I'm just saying, it's amazing. Everything comes back to Waller. It's like, okay, we get it.
He's like our Marsha.
Yeah,
Waller.
Dable also mentioned about he's kind of adding a little bit to the plate of the rookies day by day to kind of get them ready to go for training camp, so he can just hit the ground running there. He was asked about DeAndre Hopkins as well, and I think it was Jordan Ronan who asked that. I didn't write that down, but I think it was Jordan Ronan, if I remember correctly. He always gets into ballsy questions like that. Like Dable, like if you know Dable's personality, like he's a fun guy, but he doesn't want to answer a question about DeAndre Hopkins. You know that. He's not going to answer it. So it's kind of a ballsy move to even ask that question. But Dable said that he and Joe Shane will look into everything that could potentially make the team better. Exactly what you expect. We're going to tell you that we're not getting DeAndre Hopkins.
And I was going to say, you know what they said about the last player that was controversial that I asked about that? OBJ. Whoa, where's he playing? Not the Giants.
Which is ironic because OBJ, his contract is rumored to be kind of the get that Hopkins is hoping to get in this offseason here, like get around like $15 million, get up to 18 with some incentives, rebuild his draft, his worth, so to speak, and go ahead and maybe try to get one last big contract after the season. So, I don't see it happening. And I was listening to Pat Train talk about it on the Locked On Giants podcast, and I know that Gene Clement also talked about it on Giants Country, and I wonder if this is part of it. So if you think about what Hopkins is, he's that big, tall, get-it receiver, the jump ball kind of guy, which is weird because he's not as big as some of the guys who play that kind of role. But we tried that with Galladay. It didn't work too well. So is he even that much of a fit on this offense?
Well, I mean, there's a little difference. I mean, Galladay also proved his worth Galladay also proved his worth prior to the system by not being able to do that.
I'm just saying, like, I think it's a valid point to say, okay, like, you look at all the guys they brought in this offseason, Paris Campbell, Jeff Smith, guys
we could afford.
No, it's it's like that
I know what
they
you're saying,
brought in
but-
guys, that are extremely fast. Jamison Crowder. They're bringing in speedy guys. They're not bringing in big body receivers. That's not what this offense is going to be built around. So if they go to get a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, they have to change their whole offense.
I mean, we do have a big body receiver. It's called Darren Waller.
Exactly. I heard he's a true pro.
Yeah. What do you think about Darren Waller?
I've heard good things.
Yeah. Okay.
From everybody. He was also asked and would not rule out Adoree Jackson returning punts again in 2023, saying, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, I'll tell you this, based on his tone, based on his face, I don't think Adoree Jackson will be returning punts.
No, but I think he's not going to say no, just in case in that slight scenario.
Yeah.
There's so many injuries, just like what just happened, last season.
Well, last season wasn't even the injuries. Last season was the fact that freaking, someone couldn't hold on to the damn ball, Richie James.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, he's going to hold that as an ace in the back of his pocket.
Yeah, he'll never say never.
Yeah.
Never say never, much like the pigeon from American Tail. And yeah, I went.
Now you're really dating yourself.
I did. Listen, that was a spectacular cinematic classic animation. Okay, it's right there with the secret of the nymph. And yes, I said nymph, not Nymph O'Connor. If you're listening. Also met with the media was Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, Darius Slayton, and Adoree Jackson. So, Kayvon, first off, you watch this man. I don't think I've ever seen a guy enjoy talking to the media as much as Kayvon Thibodeau. Like, he just loves the spotlight.
Yeah,
and it's funny how you see people like that and you go egomaniac. That's not him. He loves it, and you can tell he relishes the spot. But the whole time he's talking about how he needs to improve. As far as the big thing for him was finishing and getting the sacks as opposed to the pass rushes.
Yeah, I think it's like. Some people say it's ego. I think it's his charisma. He just loves being there.
Yeah, listen, you can love being there. That's not a problem as long as you don't make it an issue for your how you play in the rest of the team. And I don't think he does.
No,
like I said, I think a lot of people misunderstood him coming out of college. I really do.
And like you said, if he had an ego, like you said, he wouldn't be talking about, hey, this is what I could be doing better. This is what I could be doing better. This is what I need to improve on this. I need to work on that. I need to do this. No. It's like, why would you ask that? I'm great at this. I'm great at that. He never does
it's not
that.
like he was doing like push-ups shirtless in his driveway like T.O. back in the day. Like, he's not causing those kind of issues. It's just he likes the attention. There's nothing wrong with that. Who doesn't like
a hug?
Who doesn't like attention? Nothing wrong with that. All right. So Adoree Jackson was, I think, one of the more interesting conversations that was had. So he said he's excited about Deonte Banks and wants to mentor him like Logan Ryan did for him. I thought that was good to hear.
Yeah.
He also said Banks is fitting into the culture that the team is building. So that's always good to hear as well. Because he didn't have to say that. He's like, yep, he's just fitting in and getting his feet wet. Like, he purposely made it a point to say that the guy was trying to fit into the culture and everything. So that's good to hear. He was also asked about his lack of turnovers we talked about earlier. So one thing I didn't like is that part of it, because he basically said he didn't know why, didn't really offer a plan to fix it, and basically kind of said he had to like throw up a prayer. Like, if your best idea of how to get extra interceptions is prayer, like, listen, I'm not going to mock anybody for religion whatsoever. I'm just saying, regardless of what you believe, I think God has better things to do than listen to you talk about interceptions.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I was going to fix this whole Russia-Ukraine thing, but hold on. Adoree Jackson needs some interceptions this year. Like, I love when football players do that. Well, I prayed, and that's why we won. Everybody prays. Both teams are praying.
Yeah. Well, they just prayed harder.
They didn't get down to their knees and pray. That's the problem. But like I said,
it's prayed at their bed and not at church.
Yeah, I think it's overplayed. In the end, his job is to stop the pass. Is the interception great? Of course. But like I said, stop the pass. That's his goal. And he does that. You can't complain. You cannot complain about the job that man does. He was also asked about Nick McLeod. We talked about him earlier, playing safety and all. He called him a Swiss Army knife. Where does that sound familiar?
It's like he listened to us.
It's almost like they're talking about the fact that he is basically the new version of Julian Love.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's what McLeod is, the new Love.
McLeod.
Not to be confused with Dude Love, the wrestler from the 90s.
Well, that's Cactus Jack.
Oh, yeah, Cactus Jack.
Yeah.
Same guy, different character.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Sorry.
Evan Neal was an interesting talk because it's like he said overall he was proud of the year he had. And I'm thinking, as a Giants fan, do I want to hear that from the guy who basically stunk it up to a degree? I didn't like hearing that personally. And I don't think he should be embarrassed by it. I'm sure he tried hard. But I don't think if I would say I was proud of the year if I was this guy, like considered if he was considered the worst lineman and he was the 7th overall pick of the draft. Like, but I did like the fact that he was asked about his knee injury, if that was part of the problem. And he said, no, players are injured all the time. We just have to do our thing. I did like he didn't take that as an out.
Yeah.
I probably would have. But yeah, that knee was horrible. I couldn't play. I played the whole season.
That's him showing ownership.
Yeah,
everything. So like that's
more than me, that's for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of players are injured.
I would have done that all day long if I was him. Like, yes, the knee was a problem. I didn't want to talk about the times. I didn't want to, use that as an excuse or give people a target to go after. I definitely would have done it. I'm calling it out.
Yeah, like, I mean, all you have to do, you can also be like, yeah, that's some issues, but players play injured all the time. Like this is the game of football. Like it was on me.
Yeah. Now, what I also thought was interesting, though, is that he was asked about how he got in touch with Willie Anderson, the former All-Pro tackle he worked with during the offseason. And he said he literally just met him on Instagram, started talking on Instagram. It's amazing what social media does nowadays. Yeah. It really is. Like, that's something, I was kind of wondering myself why that kind of combo came together. But yeah, so that was all over Instagram. Darius Slayton said he thinks he's still the fastest guy in the team. I don't know about you guys, but before these OTAs are out, I want to see a full-on 40-yard race between Slayton and Hyatt. And why don't they even throw Jeff Smith in, who we talked about a little bit here, who we may not have the same hopes for him as a player, but he's a fast freaking guy too. He is really fast. Like he was like right at that 4.3, 4.2 kind of spot with his 40 time as well. So let's throw them together and see what happens.
And then you know what? I also want to see a 100-yard dash.
Oh,
let's go for the Hail Mary.
Let's go for the Hail Mary. Let's go. All this prayer talk has got him going. He also called Waller impressive because he was asked about Darren Waller. Who would have thought he'd be asked about Darren Waller? Well, where is Waller during these interviews? I feel like let's just put Waller up because that's all they seem to want to talk about. Waller,
he's in the back, like,
sheesh. Yeah. No word still yet if he's any relation to Amanda Waller, by the way. We're still looking for notes on this. So he also says he avoids standing next to Waller in pictures so he doesn't look so small. I thought it was kind of funny. He also said that he knew after DJ came back and re-signed that he knew he wanted to come back. I thought that was pretty cool. That was a nice way of standing up saying, that's my quarterback. That's my guy, without crying like T.O. It's their second T.O. reference.
It's my quarterback, man.
It's my quarterback. But yeah, like I said, it's just nice to see. I like that he stood up for him in the offseason and now he continues to want to work with him. So that's always nice to see there overall. So yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, still OTA, guys. Not too much to read into. We got 2 practices done. We got another one tomorrow, so we'll talk about that next week since we're going to be off for the weekend here. Any other final notes you want to give there, Rob?
I mean, it's OTA, guys. Like, let's take, like we said, everything. Earlier, take it with a grain of salt. Like,
grain of salt.
Let's enjoy what's coming out. It looks like they're playing well, but this is also not an aggressive practice. Like when your coach is telling you you're very competitive, let's dial it back.
Yep. That's
what kind of practice this is.
We're talking practice. We're talking practice.
It's not really, I guess, even practice. It's more like drills.
So even the 11-on-11s that they're doing, they're literally walking through the play just to make sure everybody knows where to go, basically. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. So,
there's no hitting, there's no contact, there's no nothing like that.
and there's no crying.
Just that's baseball. There's no crying. There's crying in football.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Again, we've talked about TO. Alrighty, guys. So we'll be back on for you guys here again on Monday. So hope you guys all enjoy your weekend here. We're giving you a 3-day weekend. If you have work tomorrow, call out unless you work with me, and then don't. So we'll be back on Monday there, either continuing our series of the Giants' greatest and doing the receivers next, or unless anything else news pops out there, we might go to that then. So we'll have to see how things play out, but probably going to be the receiver thing. I don't think this is that time of the year we're expecting any kind of curveball things coming out there for you guys. So we'll talk receivers. We might have a debate for number one. I think that's going to be the fun debate in that episode. Let's just call it out like it is. It's going to be either, Toomer or OBJ. No, it's going to be Toomer or OBJ. Everybody knows that. Which way do we go, though? Which way do we go, George? Which way do we go? So, guys, like I said, that'll be a fun debate, I'm sure. And I'm sure there'll be some people in the chat even going like, what the hell? Nope, you're wrong. Because no matter which one we pick, there's going to be people disagreeing with us. Unless we cop out and put them both tied for one. We won't do that. I can't imagine we'll do that. I already have my preferred number one. We'll see what you think later on. We talk about it. So easy enough, guys. So again, we'll be on again Monday for you, Wednesday and Thursday next week, as always. So we will do, like I said, for the time being, Thursday is going to be our OTA off-season workout updates there day. Monday, Wednesday will be kind of our fill-in episodes with either, greatest of, Q&As, things of that nature there. So we'll get all that rolling for you guys as well. So again, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and my LinkedIn profile. Best way to get a hold of us is on LinkedIn. Sorry, it's on LinkedIn.
No, it's a great watch, but the best way to get a hold of us is at YouTube and Facebook. If you want to put your live comments in there, we can read them right on the air, and it's a fantastic time. Get in the comments, guys.
Now we do again where the Twitch comments do show up. It's just, to be very honest, we just kind of throw it up on Twitch and don't do anything else. So therefore, it's not as good a community, so to speak, there of people. Whereas you'll see a lot of people that were showing up the stuff there. It's the Facebook comments, it's the YouTube comments, it's that kind of stuff there. So join in the fun, comment along, or if you can't watch live, then just go ahead and watch it afterwards there. YouTube is probably the best way to do it afterwards, so it's available on all those platforms. Just because YouTube, 24 hours later, I can cut out the intro and outro and some of that stuff there and cut down the time a little for you guys there. If you prefer just listening on your way to work, of course, we're available at every audio podcast platform known to man: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Deezer, whatever else is popular nowadays with you kids.
Everywhere in podcast land.
Everywhere. Some ones I never even heard of before this. We started doing podcasts.
Wink, kink, clarify.
So again, guys, we'll see you guys again on Monday. Have a happy and safe weekend. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. In fact, don't do things that we would do because we're a bad influence on everybody, guys. So,
oh yeah,
and you can already see where Rob's arm is. He's ready to go. He's ready to go with it because you know what?
Stretching.
As always, Giant fans,
go G-Man.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right?